The Cuban government has denounced the latest moves of the United States government to promote destabilizing acts in the country. Members of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries held their 180th meeting this Monday with the aim of stabilizing crude prices. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has warned of an imminent attack against the leaders of the northern Tigray region. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South, and I'm Katrina Goss. And we begin in Cuba, where the government has denounced the latest moves of the United States government to promote destabilizing acts in the country. Cuban Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez warned of the direct participation of U.S. Charge d'Affaires Timothy Zuniga Brown in the incitement to commit illegal acts against public order and the health regulations established in the island. The Cuban authorities have noted that through the diplomat, Washington provided support to an event of political and social provocation promoted by the so-called San Isidro movement in Havana. According to the Cuban Foreign Ministry, the moves represent flagrant interference in Cuba's internal political affairs, as well as a violation of the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, informed that any COVID-19 vaccine will be made universally available to all citizens. Mottley's announcement came as part of her speech to mark Barbados Independence Day this Monday. Mottley noted that the vaccine will be provided totally free of charge throughout the country and stressed the importance of public health to ensure the well-being and prosperity of the nation. She also added that people who are willing to pay for the vaccine voluntarily can do so, but that the government will not require any fee for the dose.
Example of why we must stay the course 2020. Once we can deal with the vaccines and have access to the vaccines and educate and sensitize Barbadians as to why the same vaccines that we were taking as children, lining up and taking the swab on our arm and having the injection and taking the drops, whether it be for polio or for other diseases, it's the same vaccines that we will roll out, and we have given our commitment to roll it out for as many Barbadians as we can humanly do so once there is access, without reference to your having to be able to pay for it if you cannot pay. Those who can pay can contribute voluntarily to the effort, but we are not charging persons for the vaccines because this is who we are, because the public health of this nation determines the overall wellness and prosperity of this nation.
In Argentina, lawmakers are set to begin debating the bill to legalize abortion this Tuesday before a final decision is reached next week. Members of the Chamber of Deputies will start the debate on the bill regarding the voluntary interruption of pregnancy at the committee level, with presentations by the Ministers of Health, Social Development and the Legal and Technical Secretary of the Presidency. The bill was submitted by President Alberto Fernandez and establishes the right to an abortion until the 14th week of pregnancy. Lawmakers hope to issue a ruling on December 4th in order to vote on the bill next week, which, if approved, will pass to the Senate, with hopes that it will go into law by the end of the year. In 2018, a bill on the legalization of abortion was approved by half of the lower house, but narrowly rejected in the Senate. In Chile, the abstention and irregularities at polling stations marked the primary elections for regional governors and mayors held on Sunday. According to the electoral authorities, the election day saw abstention of at least 95%. Several political parties claim that the low turnout was due to a lack of information broadcast prior to the vote about the process. During the day, those voters who did turn out denounced irregularities at several polling stations. And the president of the Board of Directors of Chile's Electoral Service, Patricio Santamaria, presented a report on the partial results of the primaries for regional governors.
The Broad Front participated in 4 primaries and obtained 67,990 votes. The Constituent Unit participated in 16 primaries with 254,560 votes. Chile Vamos participated in 7 primaries getting 42,037 votes. Ecological and Independent participated in 1 primary election getting 6,871 votes.
An electoral official also confirmed that the turnout at polling stations across the country did not exceed 7%.
Participation levels in regional governors were 89%, and in the case of the primary elections for mayors, 4.37%.
Meanwhile, in Colombia, the systematic violence against community leaders, activists and former guerrilla fighters continues. The latest assassination of a signatory to the peace agreement was confirmed this Monday in the department of La Guajira. The Common Alternative Revolutionary Force Party confirmed on Twitter that Anuar Vargas had been killed in the municipality of Maicao. The party noted that Vargas was complying with the housing project of the territorial program of training and reincorporation in the town of Pendones in La Guajira. According to the FARC party, this killing brings the total number of peace signatories murdered this year to 244. The organisation once again stressed the need to guarantee the safety of all those working to build peace in Colombia within the framework of the 2016 peace accords. This Monday, members of the Organisation of the Petroleum Exporting Countries held their 180th meeting, seeking to stabilise crude prices. OPEC member countries ratified the importance of multilateralism and energy cooperation to consolidate global economic recovery. The organisation held an initial round of talks on Sunday. However, participants did not manage to reach an agreement on production policy for next year. OPEC had planned to cut production by 2 million barrels a day by 2021, but reduced demand for fuel due to the coronavirus pandemic forced a rethink. Member country delegations will reconvene for further deliberations this Tuesday. Top U.S. infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci has warned that the United States could see surge upon surge of coronavirus cases as people return home from the Thanksgiving holidays. Speaking on Sunday, Dr. Fauci said it was not too late for those yet to travel to help curb the virus by wearing masks and socially distancing. The U.S. has recorded more than 13 million coronavirus cases and more than 266,000 COVID-19 related deaths. As of Sunday, the number of COVID-19 cases recorded in November has surpassed 4 million, double the figure recorded in October. Social, political and trade union organisations in Europe have launched a campaign to promote free and inclusive access to coronavirus vaccines. The initiative is promoted by the Communist Party of France, together with a dozen political and union organisations that are promoting the campaign through social media under the label Right to Cure and No Profits at the Expense of the Pandemic. The leaders of the initiative point out that access to the vaccine is paramount to defeat the COVID-19 pandemic. Furthermore, they say that in the midst of the health crisis, it is unacceptable that human beings lack protection due to financial reasons. On Monday, Germany's health minister said the cabinet of senior ministers working on coronavirus policy had approved a plan to build up a national reserve of health equipment in order to prevent a repeat of the scramble for supplies seen at the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic.
Ladies and gentlemen, our healthcare system is one of the best in the world. Nevertheless, this pandemic has taught us that we must be even better prepared for cases like this, for the health crisis, for the pandemic. The German healthcare system is supposed to become and be even more resilient in such a crisis, which is why the Corona Cabinet decided today to establish a national health reserve. It consists essentially of protective equipment and masks, respirators and medicines. To build up the reserve, the federal government will store material at 19 locations until the end of 2021. This reserve is to be filled primarily from products already procured. After that, it will be further filled from a domestic production as a reserve. We are planning half a year of the current demand, especially for the healthcare sector. Physically, the protective materials, equipment and medicines should be kept in stock for 1 month.
The European Union is seeking to shore up trust in the Schengen Agreement, with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen stressing on Monday that internal border checks within the EU must be a last resort.
The reason why we organized today's Schengen Forum is to hold a discussion on a way forward. I would like a pragmatic and operational debate that we can use to inform the Schengen strategy that we will put forward in May next year. But let me also be clear about an important issue. As we develop Schengen, we cannot compromise on the fundamentals. Any internal border checks must be a last resort, and we need to work in very close coordination. Europeans have grown to rely on Schengen. Today, it is essential for our economy and for our way of life, and we all have a responsibility to make it work. Thank you very much.
The European Union's police agency announced Monday it has made 102 arrests in a continent-wide operation to check on the correct disposal of sanitary waste amid the coronavirus pandemic. Europol said it identified sanitary waste treatment, which is meant to be closely regulated by authorities, as a potential concern during the global health emergency. It said its investigation in 30 countries uncovered cases of illegal trafficking, storage, dumping and shipment of waste and document fraud. In Portugal, police inspections of more than 2,000 companies, hospitals and health centres led to 30 arrests and the seizures of assets worth almost €800,000. In one case in Spain, a company cut its treatment of sanitary waste, which is supposed to be sterilised at high pressure, in order to increase profits. On Monday, China urged Australia to apologise to Afghanistan for the war crimes committed by its soldiers and called for a thorough investigation to bring those responsible to justice.
The details disclosed in this report are shocking and gruesome. These shooting adult men and boys together, or blindfolded and cutting their throats, sliding two 14-year-old boys' throats and putting the boys in bags and throwing them into the river, and also requiring recruits to shoot and kill prisoners of war to practice their skills. These brutal crimes of Australia have been strongly condemned by the international community. The strong reaction of the Australian side to my colleague's personal tweet is intended to justify the callous killing of innocent Afghan civilians by Australian soldiers. But is it unreasonable to condemn such callous crimes? The lives of the Afghan people also matter. The Australian government should reflect deeply and bring the perpetrators to justice, make a formal apology to the Afghan people, and make a solemn commitment to the international community that it will never commit this terrible crime again.
And the Foreign Ministry spokesperson also said China is willing to deepen its multi-field cooperation with the Association of Southeast Asian Nations.
This year's event is an important international expo held by China and the Asian countries upon their solidarity in fighting against the COVID-19 pandemic. It has attracted more than 1,600 Chinese and foreign enterprises to participate in offline exhibitions and many overseas guest business people to join in the online Cloud Expo. President Xi attached great importance to the event and delivered a speech via video link to the opening ceremony. He made a 4-point proposal regarding promoting China-Asian cooperation and the cultivation of a closer China-Asia community with a shared future. The proposal includes further synergies and development plans, accelerating a full recovery of the regional economy, deepening cooperation in the digital economy, and enhancing capacity building in public health.
Indonesia's disaster agency said Monday that thousands have fled the scene of a rumbling volcano that burst to life for the first time in several years. The evacuation of more than 4,400 residents came as Mount Ili Lerotolik erupted on Sunday, spouting a thick tower of debris 4 kilometers into the sky, triggering a flight warning and the closure of a local airport. There are no reports of injuries or damage from the eruption. Authorities advised residents to wear masks to protect themselves from volcanic ash spouting from the crater in East Nusa Tenggara, the southernmost province of Indonesia, and to be alert for possible lava flows.
I think I was the first one in my neighborhood to see the volcano erupting. There was a lot of smoke coming out which flowed down from the crater. The people panicked. Then it got worse and worse until we saw fire coming out of the crater and more smoke. I was so shocked and panicked, I even had tears in my eyes. When I was still in my village, I was panicked, but now that we've been relocated to this shelter, we are in the good hands of the local disaster mitigation agency and local government. We feel safer now.
Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said Monday the leaders of the northern Tigray region had fled west of the regional capital and warned of an imminent attack. More than 3 weeks of fighting between federal soldiers and forces of the Tigray People's Liberation Front have left thousands dead in the northern region and prompted tens of thousands of refugees to flee across the border into Sudan. Prime Minister Abiy, winner of last year's Nobel Peace Prize, ordered military operations against leaders of Tigray's ruling party earlier this month, in response to what he claimed were organised attacks on Ethiopian Federal Army camps. Abiy said on Saturday the military operations were completed after federal forces claimed control of the Tigray regional capital, Mekelle. However, Liberation Front leaders have repeatedly vowed to fight on as long as federal forces are on Tigrayan soil. Abiy told lawmakers on Monday that federal troops had not killed a single civilian in the offensive, despite the reports of casualties.
Mekelle is ours. It was built with our resources. We are not going to destroy it. Not even a single person was harmed by the operation in Mekelle. We can manage within a week. The United Nations, the Sudanese government and refugees organizations, our doors are open. We can bring them back to their place. They are our citizens as long as they didn't commit crimes. However, there is no problem. The refugees are mostly male, not women and children. Who are these male youth? Time will reveal. If the youth are part of those who massacred innocent civilians in Mai Kadra, then they need to be brought to justice.
The World Health Organization's Regional Office for Africa has confirmed more than 2.1 million COVID-19 cases across the continent, with over 12,000 new infections reported in the last 24 hours. The continent's death toll stands at more than 51,000, with 205 fatalities registered in the past day. Meanwhile, more than 1.8 million patients have recovered from the virus. South Africa is the hardest hit nation in the continent, with more than 787,000 COVID-19 cases and over 21,000 deaths. Egypt has the second highest death toll at over 6,600, followed by Morocco with nearly 5,800 deaths. Egypt has registered more than 115,000 cases and Morocco more than 340,000. Russian peacekeeping forces in the Nagorno-Karabakh region opened a field hospital near the capital on Monday that can treat up to 40 patients. The field hospital includes an intensive care unit and various others to assist a wide variety of patients. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, the hospital is designed for the peacekeeping contingent in Nagorno-Karabakh, but it can also serve the civilian population if needed. Peacekeeping forces also continue their work to remove mines along the perimeter under their control in the region. Operations to find and remove mines are being conducted every day in and around territory where Russian checkpoints are located, with dozens of unexploded ammunitions found daily.
The intensive care unit is designed to help a wide variety of patients, such as patients with infectious toxic shock or traumatic shock. This is why it is universal.
Sri Lankan authorities said Monday that 6 prisoners were killed after guards opened fire to control a prison riot. Officials said 35 inmates were wounded and 2 guards were critically injured. The incident took place at a jail on the outskirts of the capital, Colombo. Pandemic-related unrest has been growing in Sri Lanka's overcrowded prisons. Inmates have staged protests in recent weeks at several prisons as the number of coronavirus cases is reported to be surging in the facilities. More than 1,000 inmates have tested positive for the coronavirus and at least 2 have died. About 50 prison guards have also tested positive. On Monday, thousands of farmers in India continue to protest against new agricultural laws. Home Minister Amit Shah met Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar for the second time in less than 24 hours after rural workers' organisations rejected the government's conditional invitation for talks. The thousands of rural workers who are protesting the recently passed laws have blocked highways and rallied on the outskirts of India's capital. Protesters say the new laws could cause the government to stop buying grain at guaranteed prices and will result in their exploitation by big corporations that would buy their crops at a much lower price.
Say if the government create an atmosphere for talks, then we will definitely go. There will be 60 people from across the country who will represent us during the talks. We want there to be some outcome. We don't want them to not listen to us. It will not work if there is no breakthrough. I hope they have an intent in resolving, and only then will these protests become quieter. Otherwise this will go on for a long time. We always suspected the government's intention and always will, because the government has become a slave of the corporates. They want to turn us into their slaves as well. We want a government which is elected by the people, that talks about the people. Those who will talk about people's welfare, they will be remembered forever.
And we've come to the end of this news brief, but remember you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Katrina Goss. Thank you for watching.